Welcome to Social Aloe Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God while exposing the devil. There are times when you hear someone say that he or she is fighting for a relationship. Sometimes the relationship is over and the person is fighting to get back into that relationship. And sometimes the word relationship should truly be applied loosely, especially on those circumstances. And you may think what the person is doing is so noble, so godly at times, fighting for a relationship. But what you may not know is that that individual is not truly fighting for the relationship. That person is actually being possessive. That person isn't fighting for a relationship. That person is fighting for his or her pride. That person is fighting for his or her reputation. That person is fighting for his or her image. It has nothing to do with forming a loving relationship. Because a lot of times, those kind of relationships, they need to fall apart and they need to stay apart. And the person who's fighting oftentimes has an unhealthy obsession with the other person. And it may just be a matter of controlling that individual. In some cases, it is simply to be in the way so that that individual cannot be happy, either by him or herself or with someone else. I talk about Leah a lot, but you see how she interjected herself into the last moment when Jacob should have married Rachel, the woman he had been engaged to for 7 years. But Leah didn't care about that. There's some deception involved, and Jacob ended up marrying her instead. Now you can imagine that if Jacob had divorced her, then maybe she would have tried fighting for the relationship too. A relationship she had no business being in the first place. And what she would have been fighting for would basically been for her pride. And especially if she was the kind of person who got rejected by a lot of people, and then it seemed, and even though she got into the relationship deceptively with Jacob, by her having been married to him for that point in time, she may feel as if someone finally accepted her. Even though Jacob didn't accept her, he accepted a person he thought was Rachel. So she presented herself fraudulently. In a lot of cases, you may think someone who's fighting for a relationship is a good thing, but that individual is fighting for a relationship which was fraudulent to begin with. And he or she got exposed, and the other person was not going to put up with it. Or there may be other things. So please be careful about how you support someone who is allegedly fighting for a relationship. A lot of times, that person is fighting for his or her own self-interest, trying to condemn someone to a life of misery. Because one of the things about love is proven in part at times by the ability to let go. If you think that holding on to something or trying to hold on to something or someone is a sign of love, it is actually the opposite. The willingness to let go is a sign of love. Also, the willingness to let go is a sign of faith in the Lord, that if you let go of something, that you're releasing it to him. And if it is his desire for you to get it back, then he will bring it to you. Similarly to how Hosea, well, not that he let Gomer go, but Gomer left him. But the Lord made it possible for the two of them to be reunited. Love is proven by the ability to let go. Sometimes it is a sign of a serious mental disorder for a person to be holding on to a relationship, especially when the other person doesn't want anything to do with the other individual. In 1 Kings 3, we see how two women who were debating over who was the mother of a child, and these were the two prostitutes. Both of them had a child. One discovered that her child was dead in the middle of the night, and rather than coping with the loss, she stole the other woman's baby, switched them. The other woman thought that her baby was dead until she discovered that it was not her child. It is said that there could be a room full of screaming babies, and a mother can identify the sound of her baby in the crowd. So it's like there's no way that the mother of the child that was still living would not know that the dead child was not hers. King Solomon adjudicated the case by ordering one of his men to cut the baby in half as a test. The true mother, because she loved her child, would much rather if her child was raised by that evil woman. But the woman was so evil, she wanted the baby to be cut in half. So it's like what she couldn't have, she didn't want anyone else to have. And even when she was, in a sense, going to get the victory because the other person loved her child so much that she was willing to give that child away, it still wasn't enough. That is how demonic some people are, where it's not about coming to a healthy resolution. It's about destroying others. And you have to recognize that when you see someone who claims that he or she is fighting for a relationship, is fighting to save a relationship, or is fighting to rekindle a relationship. Okay, that was from 1 Kings 3. But let me tell you the ultimate love story in the Bible. No, not Ruth and Boaz. The ultimate love story in the Bible. And it is captured in one passage in the Bible, in John 3:16, where Jesus said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." So, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. God demonstrated his love for us by giving. If God had held on to his son, that would not have been a sign of his love for us. Holding on is a sign of possessiveness. Some people, they've made what we call inner vows. For example, you may have had something bad happen to you, and you're like, I'm never going to allow this to happen again. You may have had, for example, in a relationship, someone leave you, and you're like, I'm never going to let this happen again. So you try extra hard to hold on to people who truly have no business in your life. But again, a true sign of love is the ability to let go, not hold on. And as it is written, as Jesus said in John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son." And then you have so many people who are holding on to things and they claim that they're doing it in the name of love. And they'll claim that they're godly. They claim that they're Christian. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. God loved, so he gave.